So as I said, we're opened up our first Tour Tuesday of 2022. I am Victoria Quigley. I'm a senior manager with United Way's workplace engagement team, and I have the great pleasure of working with our Tour Tuesday series. Tour Tuesday is an opportunity for folks to get an inside look at the great work happening in our community through United Way's partner agencies. So for fellow nonprofit staff, this is a great way to learn about other service providers and programs that might be beneficial to your own clients. And for those that are looking to get involved, especially with VITA, this could be a great way to hear about our current volunteer and engagement opportunities. And also for our United Way donors who are so incredibly generous, this is a fantastic opportunity to hear from those agencies who are putting your dollars to work in our community. So I'm so excited to introduce today's topic and each of our panelists. So today's tour features representatives with VITA. So VITA is our volunteer income tax assistance program, which serves the Middle Tennessee region. We have M. Cashin, who is the regional coordinator of VITA, Samantha Williams, who is our Associate Director of Financial Mobility at United Way, and Tim Mack, IRS Certified Volunteer Tax Preparer. Today, you'll hear more about this program. Specifically, you'll hear how this team helps families save money with this free service and can help individuals get on track financially. This program is funded through grants and through United Way, meaning it receives funding through our community impact funding model, which is made possible by individual donors, corporate donations, local and federal grants, and the donations made through United Way workplace campaigns. So to give you a little bit of background and an overview of VITA, I'd like to invite Im to talk about the provided services, our service areas, ways to file, and where sites are located. So Im, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to be talking about VITA because I think it is such an important and valuable service to taxpayers everywhere. It is a program under the IRS and is nationwide. It's a service to provide free income tax preparation and electronic filing for low to moderate income households. The income limit for VITA service this year is $70,000, and that includes families and singles. The key word in VITA is volunteer. All our volunteers have to take IRS certification tests every year so that we meet high quality standards. I should also say that I am one of two regional coordinators for United Way of Greater Nashville. We cover 32 counties in Middle Tennessee, and that is a large area. So myself, along with Tamara, run the VITA program. In order to cover such a large area, we are pleased to offer multiple ways of filing this year. And I'm going to share my screen so that I can show you about the options and how to get the information about it. So just let me get that. Okay. So do you see my screen? Okay. So there are three main options this tax season. We have in-person, virtual, and do it yourself. And as you see, it says visit unitedwayfilefree.com. And I'm actually going to show you that website too here. Did that change as well to the website?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so the first option here on our website is file myself, or this is the do-it-yourself option. United Way offers a free self-filing tax software through myfreetaxes.com. You can click on Get Started to go to this website. This is for taxpayers who feel comfortable using a computer or smartphone to file their own taxes. But if you have any questions, there is a phone number that you can call for assistance. You will need an email and your adjusted gross income from 2020, which you can find that information on your 2020 tax return form 1040. The second option is virtual. This is a great option if you don't feel comfortable preparing your own tax return, but aren't able to go to one of our in-person sites. Since 2020, United Way of Greater Nashville has partnered with Code for America to use getyourrefund.org, a secure encrypted platform for taxpayers to send documents safely. You will need an email or be able to receive text messages. And you can click here on our website to get started. When you go to the website, you'll just answer questions and prompt you to upload documents. These are the same questions that you would answer on an intake form if you went to one of our in-person sites, which are basic tax questions like your filing status, if you have any dependents, and what type of income you have. We recommend using a smartphone or tablet, as this is the easiest way to take photos of your documents to upload. There is a chat feature if you have any questions. Once you've answered the questions and uploaded your documents, our volunteers will get your information. They will call you to make sure that they fully understand your tax situation. And then once the tax return is prepared, another volunteer will review it for accuracy and then call the taxpayer to go over the completed tax return to make sure that we have entered everything correctly. And when you are satisfied, there will be a document that you can electronically sign through the Get Your Refund platform, and that gives us permission to e-file. And then the third option here, which I think most people are familiar with, are our in-person sites. And if you click on view tax sites, it will take you to that. We have 19 sites located in 9 counties, and some of these are by appointment only and some are walk-ins. So don't worry, those red X's will turn green very soon. Tax filing season starts Monday. Most of our sites open January 31st. So those will soon be turning green. It's just around the corner. But this is a great time for you to start gathering your documents. And I will cover that later in a bit. But as you can see, it does list all our sites, their hours, their addresses, whether it's appointment only or if you can walk in. If you do want to go to one that is appointment only, you can click on the Book Now button, and that will take you to our online appointment scheduling system. Or if you need assistance, you can call our appointment line at 615-830-7940. Please be aware that all our sites are using some type of COVID protocols to ensure the safety of volunteers and taxpayers. Let's see. All right. So I did mention that I would like to go over what you need to bring. It is especially important this year. So many people have had delays in getting refunds. And so if you know what you need to bring, then hopefully that will prevent that from happening to you. So whether you use our virtual to get your refund or you go to an in-person site, we do need photo IDs for yourself. And if you're married filing jointly, we also need to see the one for your spouse. The next one is Social Security cards for everyone on the return. This can be quite a stumbling block for folks because they might have misplaced it or whatever, but because we are a program under the IRS, it is a requirement that we see a Social Security card for everyone. And then of course the income documents such as your W-2s. If you have any 1099s, which include interest, dividends, capital gains, miscellaneous income. Also, we'll need to see like unemployment, gambling, lottery winnings. If you're self-employed, we'll also need to know how much you earned in 2021. And then for expenses, it was new last year and it's new again, it still applies this year. Normally you can either take a standard deduction or itemized deduction. And in order to get to benefit from making any cash donations to charity, you normally have to itemize, but last year it was changed. And you can deduct up to $300 for cash donations to charity and $600 for married filing jointly. The other area under expenses, if you're self-employed, that it'd be helpful if you could bring your expenses, including any mileage. Another requirement is for those folks who had marketplace insurance, which is through healthcare.gov. You will need to bring your form 1095A. And then the other two things that are new for this year that's very important and which could cause delays in your refund if we don't get the correct information, it's the economic impact payment, the third stimulus check. And those payments went out around March of 2021. You should receive a letter with the exact amount, but if you don't, then you could probably check your bank records. But it is important that what you tell the VITA site matches what the IRS has on record for you. And if it doesn't match, that's the reason why it could cause delays. And for those people who have children who may have received advanced child tax credit payments, again, those payments started coming out in July 2021 through December. And then we'll need to know the exact total amount of advanced child tax credit payments that you receive. And then a couple of other things. If you are getting a refund and you wish for direct deposit, which is the fastest way to receive a refund, you'll want to bring your bank routing number and your account number. And then if you do go to an in-person site, it's not required, but it is helpful to bring last year's tax return in case of any questions. So, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end of our session.
Great, thank you, Em. I know that aside from 211, VITA and My Free Taxes are the services that I suggest most to people that are asking, how can United Way benefit them, and how can they benefit from our services. And I think it's just such a wonderful service. I use My Free Taxes. It's easy to use, and I can't recommend it enough. So next we've got Samantha Williams up, and she's going to give us just more of a big picture view of VITA, that how VITA began, what are the numbers that we've put out, what is the impact that we've made in the community. So Samantha, take it away.
Thanks. It's good to be on Tour Tuesday again. It feels like the years go by quickly. And thank you to Em for such a nice, thorough overview of how VITA really truly works. Em and Tamara are incredible at what they do. I just can't say enough. And the United Way team knows, but everybody else with United Way needs to know how hard they work. And tax season is it's a bit of a beast. We all know that taxes can be hard, and working with as many volunteers and thousands of taxpayers, they just do a tremendous job. So the VITA program has been a program of the IRS for more than 50 years. We've been doing it in Nashville for almost 20 years, and United Way of Greater Nashville was involved really at the beginning of that. In 2024, tax season of 2025, United Way of Greater Nashville helped to tie together a couple tax sites, a couple VITA sites that were doing a couple hundred returns maybe. And over the years, the coalition has grown to be 32 counties. Like Em said, we cover most of Middle Tennessee. United Way provides the backbone support for that to make sure that sites in different parts of the community, different counties, they have what they need. They have the training they need. They have the supplies that they need. We're ordering a bunch of snacks for the volunteers, but we kind of provide that role of bringing them together. And there's sites at libraries, there's sites at community organizations, there's all kinds of different types of sites. And and I'm pretty sure Em said this too, our in-person sites are so excited to be back this year. There's things are going to be a little different, a little bit of hybrid. The virtual platform is so slick and people are enjoying that. But the volunteers really want to be in person again. And so we're excited for them to be able to do that with COVID protocols in place. So like I said, Nashville's been doing this for 18 years. Typically, the last, if you count pre-COVID, we were over 10,000 returns a year across the coalition. And that's about 20 sites. This year we're at 20 if you count the virtual site. With COVID, things drastically changed. All the in-person had to, shut down for 2 years, really, year and a half. And so last year we only did 7,000 returns, but that's really pretty tremendous considering we couldn't do anything in person. About 2,000 of those came through our virtual platform last year, which is huge. The IRS never let us do virtual VITA before, and now we've partnered with Code for America to do this really solid, great platform that takes transportation barriers away, technology barriers away. We're working with nonprofits this year to make it even easier for folks. Maybe they're at a library or at Catholic Charities or something, and they can work with their case manager to upload their documents and get into the virtual queue. So that's a navigator program we're adding this year. When we talk about big picture, why VITA, there's really 3 reasons. So the first, and this is where Congressman Jim Cooper has been really important, really key in helping get the VITA Coalition going in Middle Tennessee. And that is because low-income taxpayers miss out on tons of credits that you would think, oh, well, the tax law is there and they should just get what they deserve. But there are millions of dollars left on the table every year, particularly in the earned income tax credit, that just wasn't getting claimed, weren't getting filed correctly. And that's federal money left on the table for taxpayers who deserve it. It's their refund. And now we know with the changes in the tax law the last 2 years, particularly last year with the advanced child tax credit being a fully refundable, earned income tax credit was changed a little bit. There are even more dollars on the table that low and very low income families will miss out on if they don't come through a service like us. They just won't necessarily know that they need to file. Even there are thousands of people that don't technically have a requirement to file, but if they do, they can get their information in the system correctly. We can make sure that they're getting all the benefits, all the tax credits that they deserve. That's why we really switched it to kind of tax justice team this year, because there are some parts of tax law and parts of the system that aren't fair, and we have to help people overcome those barriers. So that's one, is making sure that we draw down all the federal refunds that we possibly can for families and for our overall community. The second one is the tremendous amount that people pay in fees. We can provide this free of service. People can easily save $200-300 in fees. That just isn't necessary. That's $200 or $300 back in your bank account towards rent or groceries or whatever it is, or into a savings account. Sorry, 1 second. I did not expect that to go from phone. I'm really sorry. The computer was not happy. And then the third reason, and the biggest reason, and the one that is important to me and the other work that I do that I'll tell you about later, is rapid refund loans. So you guys have probably already seen, they're already advertising, get your refund now, get it fast. Well, these paid preparers are highly predatory. They're taking advantage of people that are in a bad spot, that maybe spent too much on Christmas or behind on rent or different things, and they want their return right away. They want the refund. Well, they're not giving you your refunds. They're filing your return and giving you a loan for what they think your refund's going to be. The IRS isn't accepting returns yet. They're not accepting electronic returns. They can't file your return yet. They're putting it through their system and saying, oh, we think you're going to get $3,000 back. But if they file your return and you only get $2,000, you owe that $1,000 back. And you owe it at a super high interest rate. And it's just a really predatory system. Like I said, taking advantage of people that are in a bad spot, that things are tight. And we understand that there's a temptation to do that, but it's so risky. It's so expensive and so risky. And that if you can we can talk taxpayers, we can talk you into waiting like 2 weeks till we open. We do direct deposit. You're going to get it as quickly as you can, legally, with no interest. And so really trying to edge out those rapid refund loans is also why VITA is here, and why we think it's so important in the community to get the word out. I think this was on my list of things to talk about, but we have materials, we have printed materials, we have digital flyers we can send you, we have social media graphics that we can send you. Thank you for posting that, Victoria. I am happy to mail those to you. You can come pick them up, we can drop them off. As much as you can get the word out to folks at your nonprofit or your employees, we are happy to provide all those materials. And Victoria, I know your contact, you're a campaign company, you can work with your contact, they can connect you to me, and we'll make sure you have, even if we need to customize it a little bit for you guys, we're totally there for it. I think I covered the stuff I was supposed to. Again, thank you for having us on. Thank you for prioritizing VITA as something that United Way does that is just invaluable to the community.
Well, thanks so much, Sam. And thank you for providing that wonderful perspective as to how the work that VITA is doing in the community and what an impact it's making. And I think what is also helpful to hear is how volunteers are experiencing VITA and what that experience is like. So I would love for Tim to share his volunteer experience and what that certification process is like, and what are the types of returns that you typically see? Like, what are the clients like that you're working with? And if you could share any stories or any real life experiences that you've had while volunteering with VITA.
Sure. So as Victoria mentioned, my name is Tim. This will be my 9th year with VITA, 7th here in Middle Tennessee. It is something I enjoy, I'm very passionate about. So for myself, I volunteered through various sites throughout. I've served in Ohio, where I previously lived, and also here in Middle Tennessee. I've served at one of our super sites in East Nashville. I've also served during our virtual platforms the last 2 years, as well as some of our summer clinics that go on as well. So I've seen a lot of different volunteers, a lot of different clients that come through. In terms of the volunteer experience, I love it because you get to meet new people every year. Sometimes you'll see the same clients come through and you start to establish that relationship year after year. Hey, someone comes back to the door. Do you remember me? I did your tax return last year. You start to see the name, they look familiar, the faces start to look familiar. After 2 or 3 years, you start to build rapport with them. They start to tell you about their life story and tells you about things that they dream about. So you start to develop some kind of that professional relationship with someone, right? You know a little bit about them. You try to help them along with their telling them stories, sharing experiences with them, but also helping them with maximizing that tax refund. In terms of the other volunteers, I love the team that we work with. So it's an opportunity and experience that you make what you can of it. So what I mean by that is, if you want to be a volunteer that comes in and just does tax returns, you're welcome to do that, right? Get your certification, come in and do your returns. And there are other opportunities too that I use it as also as part of my network. So whether that be a meal after volunteering for a day, whether that be strengthening my network from a professional perspective, and also, my current travel agent is the spouse of one of our VITA volunteers. So I am building my network through the people that I meet through this program. I enjoy helping people because I think part of it is so many of the clients that we meet, their financial literacy isn't strong. Financial literacy is not something that we teach in school, and is a gap for a lot of us. So knowing that I have a skill set that I can impact the community with is the reason why I volunteer, and I love it. In terms of the certification process, I think that first year, as we say at my job, you got to put a little bit elbow grease into it that first year. It does take a little effort that first year to understand the types of returns you'll see, understand the wide range of returns you'll see, as well as the different filing statuses and different types of returns you'll see. But the certification process, it is very hands-on in terms of there's the Link and Learn website, which the IRS puts out for you, that is basically clicking through, watching the slides. It's probably about 400 slides. That's what I did my first year. United Way of Greater Nashville, we've offered classes online as well. So I've led that before. So there's also that opportunity to get an experience with the software, as well as experience of, learning a little bit about the tax law, kind of like a guided instructor course. In terms of the certification, they call it a certification test, but in some ways it's not really a test, but it's more of an open book guide, right? They give you the test questions, and they give you a manual or a book that has all these tax laws into it. And basically you have a question. If you don't know the answer, you go to this reference material and you research it and try to answer the question. And so I think that's one of the things that first year, it's probably, I would say, to get certified all the way through to the advanced level tax preparer, it's probably about anywhere from 8 to maybe 15 hours, depending on the level of knowledge that you have. But then your learning curve drops off dramatically. Once you get past that first year, the second year and the years that come back when you recertify each year, some of the questions are very similar, some of the scenarios are very similar. And also you have this knowledge bank that you didn't have the year before, right? You have all this knowledge of tax returns that you've done the prior year. So that is an opportunity for you to just kind of, let me see what happened last year. Let me look at the work that I did on my last year's test to see, try to refresh myself of how to solve this problem. In terms of the types of returns that we see, so I think we see a lot of different returns, anything from as simple as 1 or 2 W-2s. Again, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes our clients just may not be technologically savvy. They just need someone to come in and data enter the information on their W-2, file the return, and get it on their way. And as Sam mentioned, I'm passionate about serving in the VITA program, because when I look at some of the pay preparers charging $200, $300, $400 for a single W-2 to complete a return, in my opinion, that's a lot to ask, someone who's living paycheck to paycheck to figure out how to come up with that money when they could be doing other things with it. And then also we do, as Em mentioned, we do see self-employed Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, people who, especially during the pandemic, who are finding ways to make money by Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, being a driver. They may not understand how to file self-employment income, what deductions are eligible for that they can claim on their tax return, and walk into do that process. And then also we meet associates of large companies throughout Middle Tennessee who are unfamiliar with all their benefits. So you're looking at a W-2 form and you see on there they have an HSA code, and you ask them, what happened to your HSA account? Didn't know I had one. And so whether that's us, referencing them, okay, you might want to go to your employer and ask them about that, your HR department, or even if that's a referral out to Samantha's other division, the Financial Empowerment Center. Hey, it sounds like you've got, accounts in different places that you're unaware of. Let's get you with someone who can spend some time with you and dedicate that resource to you to help you get through those returns. To help you find all that missing money, to make sure that you have a grasp of where everything is. And then also, I enjoy some of the other cases that we see where, you'll see individuals who we all know that married filing jointly is almost always the most beneficial, but a couple will come in and they'll try to file separately, and you'll have to you'll coach them with questions about why, and you'll help explain the benefits of filing together versus not together. And generally nine times out of 10, it's better to file jointly. But it's walking through that process, understanding their tax situation. Some of them may be, one of the spouses may have an IRS debt from before they were together. And so trying to explain to them, there's forms, there are processes that you can proceed with, but still file together to maximize that refund for you guys in order to, be successful in with filing your taxes. Was there anything else, Victoria, that you want me to cover?
No, I think that was perfect. That was a great overview of that experience. I think it's Tamara that says you don't have to be a finance person or a math person necessarily. You just have to be a people person. And that's really what it takes to be a VITA volunteer and to make that impact. And I love how you said that, if you run into individuals that it seems like they may need some extra help just beyond filing their taxes, it's really providing that wraparound service. So, referring them to the Financial Empowerment Center or other ways that they can get involved with United Way and benefit from our services. So it's a great intro for individuals that don't know how much help is there and how much they could really be benefiting from everything that we have to offer. So thank you for sharing that experience. I'd love to open the floor up to any questions. I know we did have one that came through, and I think Em answered it pretty quickly, but I know she mentioned that Social Security cards were a required document, and so was ITIN paperwork acceptable if the client does not have a Social Security number? And she said, yes, it is. Those are acceptable. And one question I had, Em, when individuals make their appointments and get scheduled to have an appointment, will all of those required documents and anything that's required be reiterated to them? Is there a whole document provided to them so that they know exactly what's required when they go to the appointment?
Yes, as long as they provide an email address for us, they will get an appointment reminder 2 days before the appointment, and it will also include the list of everything that they need to bring. And it also includes links. So if you're like, oh, I don't know how to get my Social Security card, there's a link to ssa.gov so you can request a replacement, or how do I keep track of my advanced child tax credit payments? There's a link to a form that you can fill out and bring it with you to your appointment. So, and then also if you do call, and even if you don't have an email, we're still happy to help you. We do have someone who's been doing scheduling appointments for many years, and she will be happy to go over that list, because we want to be sure that everyone is prepared so that we can get your taxes filed promptly and correctly. Yeah.
Perfect. That's great. Some questions we've gotten here. It looks like 2 questions. Where do I go to get the IRS reference material? Anyone can answer
Is this volunteer?
Let's see, to study for the reference paper. Where do we pick up a hard copy of the IRS material to study to the reference paperwork?
Yeah, we, right now, most of the United Way staff is working from home. And so it is difficult to say, yes, come by here, but we will be at a location in East Nashville on Thursday and Saturday afternoons. And actually, I recognize Victoria Ann's name, so I will send her an email directly with the times and address of where we will be this week to pick up. Also, everything is also available at irs.gov. That's one thing they are really good about, making sure that all their publications are available online. So there's that option too, to go through that way. But I will reach out to Victoria Ann.
Perfect.
I'm not sure that we spelled this out really clearly, but it isn't quite too late to sign up to volunteer, but it is getting close. We are, tax sites open the 31st. But if people are still interested in volunteering, there are multiple roles. You don't have to be just a preparer. You could be a greeter or an intake person, or with the virtual platform, you can actually be an assister. So somebody that, they upload their documents, but they skipped this piece. So an assister would call them and make sure all those documents, everything is in place before somebody actually works on their return. So there are some roles that aren't full tax preparation, but if you do want to volunteer, it's volunteerforvita.com. There are some slots available for a virtual class, like it's a 12-hour paced class with some partners that we're with, or there's the self-paced, like Tim said. It does take a little more elbow grease your first year. But if you're interested in volunteering, please sign up with us now, because we're moving on to a lot of other things, but we still want as many people to come volunteer as they can.
Sure thing. And I imagine that another great trait of a VITA volunteer would potentially be having English or another language that they speak besides English. Is there an opportunity both for volunteers and for clients to get tax help that's not in English?
Yes, absolutely. So we've always done really well with Spanish speaking clients or taxpayers. Conexión Americas has done a lot of our work with that. They help people file for their individual taxpayer identification numbers, their ITINs. But we have Spanish speaking volunteers that will be on the virtual platform with us as well. This year, we have a grant from Tyson, who has 2 meat processing plants in the area, and they have a large number of their workforce that speak additional languages. So we are translating materials and doing focused outreach in Swahili, Somali, Burmese, Nepali, Spanish, Arabic. So either volunteers who want to do taxes or want to do that kind of assister and greeter role in additional languages, that would really help our volunteers. But we do have access to a language line. And so we have always worked with anybody in any language. And it'd be great to have some more volunteers that could help us with that, though. We do also have a special partnership with Bridges for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, where we go on site and we work with those folks that we've worked with for a long time.
It's wonderful. Thank you. Another question we've got here is, what types of returns can VITA help or not help with?
Yeah, I can actually, and there's actually 2 questions that I could help with. I'm going to actually share my screen again, because I want people to realize that all this information is available on our website. So I can show you where to find it. That way you don't have to write everything down. So we are back at the UnitedWayFileFree.com website. This is the place where we showed you the different ways to file. But under documents needed to file, if you go to the document checklist, I think this will provide a list of everything that you need to bring, including, like, if you're self-employed, what type of expenses. We don't necessarily require to see official documents. If you just have it written on a piece of paper, we can accept that. We will take your word for it. And then also at the bottom of this, because we are a program under IRS, we do have to follow their regulations, and there are some tax returns that they consider out of scope for us. For example, we don't do rental income unless you're active military. And that could be like if you, have an Airbnb or, VRBO, anything like that. Farm income. There are certain types of minister wages that we cannot do. And then also some self-employment type of issues. But again, this list is here on our UnitedWayFileFree.com website.
That's perfect. It looked like there were a couple questions that were specifically asking for some of those answers. So that's helpful to just head on over to that website and get that information and have it all in front of you. So last question we've got here is, I'm new to volunteering. So what are the next steps? I know that you said, I think sites open up soon. We're ready to take those returns. So what are the next steps for a volunteer if they are new to this process?
Well, the first thing they should do is reach out to us. I'll put it in the chat, but if they want to send us an email to VITA@UnitedWayGN.org, or if they go to volunteer for VITA.org website, there's lots of information on there, including certifications, the requirements. So reach out to us. We are having a Zoom orientation this afternoon or evening at 5:30. So if you can send us an email or something, we'll be able to provide that link to you so you can find out more in-depth information. So just reach out to VITA@UnitedWayGN.org.
Great. All right. Well, feel free to continue to ask any questions in the chat box, but I think we'll go ahead and start to wrap up. So
Hey,
thank you.
Victoria.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to go back to FEC because not everybody on here, I don't want to assume that they know what FEC is.
Sure. Go right ahead.
So we've done, like I said, we've been doing VITA for a long time. And as Tim said, a lot of people may have not been taught financial literacy, not necessarily have the skills. They may actually be better budgeters than anybody else we know, but financial literacy skills are not taught as much as we would like in high schools and stuff. But so an outgrowth of the VITA program is the Financial Empowerment Center, which is the other component of my work. So we provide free professional one-on-one financial counseling to anybody in the greater Nashville area. So we help people work on their credit, reduce their debt, increase their savings, budgeting, any kind of financial topic you can imagine we work with, particularly we tie with taxes. Our volunteers all know about the FEC to refer folks over, whether they have a balance due and they need to think through payments and how they want to handle it, or they're getting a big refund and they want some help kind of thinking through how to maximize it, how to, how much to save, how much to pay off this debt, things like that. And also one of the things that our counselors really work with people on around taxes is adjusting their withholding. So if you always get a big return at the end of the year, it may be that your withholding is set wrong. And that if you just change those numbers with your HR department, you'll have more cash throughout the year rather than getting a big return, which may just be better for your family and your cash flow. So Financial Empowerment Center, I'm sure some of you have already heard of it, but you can find out about our financial counseling by going to fec.nashville.gov or calling 615-748-3620. Again, it's free professional financial counseling for anybody in the greater Nashville area.
Thank you for adding that. Yeah, we can never plug the FEC enough and all the great work that you all do. So thanks for sharing that. And as always, you can email any of the speakers today on our webinar just to ask any additional questions that you had that maybe didn't pop into your head during this call, or something you didn't feel comfortable asking, but they're always open and ready to answer any questions that you may have. So I think if no further questions are coming up, you will be receiving contact information for each of our speakers on today's panel in a follow-up email. I wanted to just say a special thank you to everyone for attending, especially our volunteers that are on this call. Thank you for the great work that you do. And hopefully, if you were learning about VITA and you wanted to maybe try it out this year, either as a client or a volunteer, just know it's a great service. And I think you can tell that by just all the information from our speakers. So I encourage you all to visit UnitedWayGreaterNashville.org/get involved, where we'll soon post more information on our next Tour Tuesday and other ways that you can volunteer with United Way, get hooked up with some of our nonprofit partners, just really get more involved with everything that we do. So thank you again to everyone for sharing your stories. Can't thank you enough, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.